This is lesson 5 in our further algebra topic, and it's called binomial products. So what is a binomial product? Well, binomial means two, okay, two. Product means times. So essentially we're timesing expressions that have two terms in them. For example, like we were doing in our last lesson when we were expanding these brackets here. We have two terms here, two terms here, and we're multiplying them together, which is a product. Okay? Now, sometimes these binomial products have some special identities, special rules. Okay? One example is one called a perfect square expansion. Now, a perfect square expansion comes from the fact that both products that we're timesing together are identical. Okay, so for example, we're going to times A plus B times A plus B. Okay, and well, let's do that now. We're going to do A times A, or we're going to do A times A plus B, and then plus B times A plus B. So that will equal A squared. A times B is AB. Next one, B times A is BA. But remember, AB and BA are exactly the same thing. And then we have B times B, which is B squared. Now, A squared, we simplify it. We have two ABs. And we have a B squared. So that is one perfect square expansion, and we normally write it out like this. We normally write this out as a square, so it goes A plus B all squared, and equals A squared plus 2AB plus B squared. Now we have another perfect square expansion, and that's the one that looks like this. A minus B times A minus B. And we'll quickly go through that one as well. Make sure we write it out correctly and expand it out. A times A is A squared minus AB minus BA, and then minus B times minus B is plus B squared. So our expansion becomes A squared minus 2AB plus B squared. And I'm going to write that over here as our other special rule or special identity. Now, when we know these now and what they multiply out to be, it helps us expand these out. Okay, this example here, example 1, it says expand and simplify the following: x plus 5 all squared. Well, yes, I can do it the long way, just like I did here. It'll take me 3 lines and I'll get to the answer. But what I want to do is to focus on this as a formula. Okay, I have an A and a B here in my question, A plus B all squared, and here is my answer. Okay, so if I relate this x plus 5 all squared to my A plus B all squared, I should be able to write down the answer without having to go through the entire expansion. Let's see what I mean. So if I say, well, my x is in the same position as my A, so I'm going to imagine that as my A. And my 5 is in the position where the B is, so I'm going to imagine that as my B. Now, my answer. What's my first part of my answer? I have an A squared. Well, I'm not going to write down A squared, but I will write down x squared. My next term is 2 times A times B. Well, I'm going to write down 2 times x times 5. 2 times x times 5. Okay, and then my last term is a b squared. Well, I'm going to square 5. So I'll just write like that. Now I can simplify that right down to be x squared plus 10x plus 25. And that is my answer. I would not normally do this step here because once you get enough practice, you should be able to write it down like this. So let's look at the second one. I'm going to write an a underneath my x, a b underneath my minus 3. I might move that equal sign down a little bit further. Now, this is in the form of my second one, a minus b all squared, x minus 3 all squared. My a is my x, so for a squared, I'm going to write down x squared. Now, I've got a minus 2 times a times b. Now, you need to be careful with this minus here and the minus here are the same. So we're just going to leave them. Okay, so realistically, I'm just worried about the 3. So I've got a minus 2 times an x times a 3. And on the end, I'm going to have a minus 3 squared. So it'll look like this, x squared minus 6x minus 2 times 3 is minus 6 with an x, and then minus 3 squared is plus 9. Alright, last one. The 4x will be my a term, the minus the 5 will be my b term. It's going to look like the second one in my expansions. So a minus b, 4x minus 5, both all squared. My first term is a squared. So I'm going to write down, I'm going to put this in brackets because I've got a 4 and an x there, 4x squared. Minus 2 times a times b, minus 2 times 4x times 5, and then plus minus 5 squared. Now, simplifying it, 4x times 4x is 16x squared. 2 times 4 times 5, 2 4s are 8, 8 5s are 40, so minus 40x. Minus 5 squared is 25, so plus 25. Alright, the more you practice, the better off you'll be. So why don't you stop now and practice question. What question are we doing? We are doing question 1 and question 2 and question 3 before we go on to our other expansion, our other special binomial product.